if we go on and win this and I'm not able to hug my dad and my mates who I go with every week, what's the point?
Hug him when you get home.
No one in 4 years' time is going to go, did you see the statistics of Arsenal?
You're the team that basically bottle every big game I've ever seen you play.
Well, this is where it changes.
I'm surprised you say that. I'm really surprised you say that. Should he be in games have been doing whatever that gesture was?
He's done a brilliant job, but now can you get him over the line?
Like, we've got a striker that couldn't hit a barn door.
I would choose every single player of Tottenham's over Manchester United's.
We lost to a mid-table team last year in the final. That's not a dig, that's a genuine fact.
Who wants Crystal Palace to win the cup final?
That's obviously me as well. Sorry, I didn't put my hand.
If you win the Europa League, they'll have a barbecue.
Hello and welcome back to the Fan Debate, brought to you by Sky Bet. Paul Scholes is with me once again, and we've got Gary Neville, who is making a little appearance on this one. Reason why, or is it?
I thought you couldn't do it, or you couldn't do it.
Oh.
So I got asked ages ago, and I said yes, and then I think was it you? Because then you could do it again.
Yeah. So we're here.
Yeah, we're here.
Right.
So
and we've got
be
the
here,
supporters who are in here week in, week out. Scholesy, what have we been up to the last week or so? I mean, obviously a little bit disappointing, was it? Have we seen each other since the last game of the season?
No, we haven't, no. Yeah, disappointing, of course. Last game of the season, didn't quite make it, did we, Gary?
No.
And yeah, just watching games, as normal, bit of Liverpool, Arsenal Sunday. Chelsea, Newcastle as well, early Sunday, so... Yeah, a little bit of a void left on Saturday, I suppose. Disappointing with the playoffs happening as well, I think. Who would we have played? Walsall we would have played, wouldn't we? So.
Have you been involved in the playoffs before? Because you obviously...
A couple of years ago, yeah. Stockport beat us in the semi-final.
Oh, okay.
Stockport fan behind you there.
Yeah. All right, let's get into the supporters. Gareth, welcome you back. Last time we were on, you spoke about you just want to go and celebrate the title in the Solly, I think he was, or a little chink. I mean, it was a couple of weeks ago now. How was that? Everyone ran out of ale, didn't he?
Yeah,
outside the ground.
Solly ran out of ale. So yeah, there was an unbelievable amount of people down there. Obviously, the people in the ground, but people who couldn't get in the ground who just came down to join in the celebrations. And it was everything I wish for, to be honest. I was with my mates. The mates I've always gone to the game with. We did manage to chink the glasses. We did manage to get our pints in before we moved on. And it was great. You know, my lad was down there. I couldn't get him a ticket, but he was on the roof of one of the pubs, so I had to tell him off for that.
He's still there.
But yeah, it was absolutely brilliant, and it, you know, it was everything we wanted. Even the way the game went, you know, there was a little bit of jeopardy, obviously conceding the goal, and you were like, are they gonna spoil the party here? And then we turned it on, and it was fantastic. The noise in the ground, the support, everything. And then I just spent the night hugging people. You know, I just kept seeing all different people, hugging them. We've done it. We've finally done it. All of that kind of stuff. And yeah, it's definitely, I think it's probably the worst hangover I've had in about 20 years.
Good.
But it had to be, didn't it?
Right, let's get back to sort of what's happening right now. And I'm sure you were in the stadium at the weekend. What did you make of it? Was there people booing around you? I mean, I've been told there was scuffles around the stadium, you know, with different people sort of not happy with the situation.
Yeah.
Where were you in the stadium, and what was it like around you?
So I'm in the cop. I'm in 304 in the cop, and I saw it in miniature, really, on my row, if you like, in that. My reaction to him coming on was, do we really need to bring him on? But sort of no more than that. I didn't clap him, I didn't boo him, I just didn't do anything. I was just sort of, you know, for me, he's gone. I'm not really bothered by it now. I wish we could stop talking about it and concentrate on the fact that in a few weeks we'll see Virgil van Dijk with the Premier League trophy. So it was a bit of a shame that we had this sort of side story. But yeah, so I wasn't really bothered. To my left, there was a lad who was absolutely fuming that people were booing. And to my right, there was a lad who was booing. And the lad who was booing took it to the extreme of, when Trent got that free kick, he ducked down and he said, I'm not watching that. I don't want to see that. Now, I don't get that, because he's still wearing a red shirt and we want to win the game. And he's good on free kicks. I quite liked, in a weird way, I'm not sure, I don't see too many people saying this, I actually like the single-mindedness of Slot, of saying, I just wanted to win the game, and I don't really care about the noise. And I think that's how he's managed all season. If you think about Fulham at home, he absolutely went for it when we went down to 10, didn't he? And I think that's like not something a manager might normally do. But that says to me he doesn't care. I don't care what stories you write. I don't care what the noise is. I'm going to concentrate on this.
Do you think Trent should play in the next 2 games just because the league's won and you've had that reaction? Would Slot almost be Because I think if you're outside of Liverpool right now, there's a lot of people having a go at Liverpool, other supporters having a go at Liverpool fans. We know how that works. And listen, Liverpool supporters left ourselves open, if you like, to that stick off of the supporters. But if Slot kept picking him, and that was reaction in the next 2 games, would Slot almost be a little bit guilty there of like, we've won the league, we don't need to use him, we don't need this, we don't need the Trent sort of bandwagon.
The sideshow of it, yeah. I mean, I kind of hope it's sort of done with and people have maybe got it out of the systems. I hope people have got it out of the system. So, you know, if he was to be involved against Crystal Palace the last game, well, I hope we don't see the same things again. But also just on, I think Connor Bradley needs time. Yeah. We need to see if he's any good. We need to see what he's like in 90 minutes of football. And when I tried to look at the logistics or the reason, the logic as to why he brought Trent on Sunday, I thought, well, was it because he was on a yellow card? Was it because he put a tackle in just before where he did get the ball, but it was a bit dangerous and he could have given a pen away? Was it maybe that? I don't know.
He started to struggle a bit in the game.
Yeah, he was a little bit, wasn't he? There was a couple of moments he had where you were like, but he's got to learn, hasn't he? Yeah. And we've already won the league. So I kind of think, well, those baptism of fire moments, if you like, he's got to go through them to learn. So I'd just like to see him get minutes anyway. And yeah, I don't want the distraction anymore of it. Like I say, for me, he's gone. He's already gone. He said he's going, so see you then.
Gareth, I wish I hadn't said that now because people keep throwing it back at me. I said a week ago, I'm sick of sort of people outside telling Liverpool fans how to think. Now, this came up again yesterday. I was listening to the radio.
It will come up again a lot in the next few years.
It's fine. So will you, Owen and Salford. But the point I was trying to make, someone was using an example yesterday, and this is what's frustrating me, is that, like, not that anyone can have their own opinion about any other team, of course they can, but someone used the example yesterday on the radio of Eric Dyer's reception at Bayern Munich. And I think someone's used it in a paper again today, and I'm like, this is what frustrates me. It's a bit like, people aren't quite it's like, oh, he got a great reception, he's leaving on a free from Bayern Munich. You're a bit like, what are you talking about? It? No. It's nonsense. From a supporter's point of view, and obviously you get people around the country saying they don't understand. From your point of view, explain it. Because I feel like I say it all the time, but from someone who goes home and away watching Liverpool, explain it why there is that frustration and there is that sort of booze in the ground.
There's lots of reasons, I think. I mean, the first one, first and foremost, is that he's a Scouser. He's grown up in West Derby. He's lived our dream, if you like. And I think a lot of people just can't compute that you're living the dream, so why do you want more? Why do you want something different? Isn't this good enough for you? Because it would be good enough for us. That's how we see it. But equally, you know, I would also say we don't walk in his boots. We don't know what his life's like. And he has sort of completed it, if you like. And that's why I'm sort of all right. If you want to go somewhere else, sound. I just think the whole thing could have been handled a little bit better. I think that one of the problems...
In what way? What could he have done?
I mean, he could have signed a deal, couldn't he, with some kind of get-out clause, and then we got something for him. I think that would have softened the way a little bit. Was the timing of the video right? Should he have just waited till the end of the season? Should he be in games have been doing whatever that gesture was? Because we've all got our fingertips on archive, the internet. We can go back to everything he's ever said, everything he's ever done, every video he's ever on, and people are doing. And they're going, he said that, he said that, he said that. And now he's going there. Why? And so, you know, they see a contradiction there and they think they've been let down. They think he's had us over. They think he's having himself a little bit. Because I think back to Alex Inglethorpe saying he was a grounded lad who turned up in the same trackie every day and drove a car that wasn't extravagant. Well, now he's in a Cheshire mansion. He's knocking around that the Monaco Grand Prix dressed as a painter and decorator. He's going to Fashion Week. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, I want to ask you about that, because I know that playing for Liverpool, and I don't know if this is probably something similar in Manchester. There is that feeling, and I always felt that as a local player, you can never be seen to be that.
Yeah.
It's a little bit...
You got laughed at for having a wallet, didn't you?
Exactly. A wallet. I never had anything in it. But there is that thing in Liverpool, as if when you're a local player, of you know what? I don't even think it's footballers. I think it's anyone who does well. It's always a bit like, don't forget where you come from. Yeah. Don't almost leave us. You know, almost that type of feeling. Is there something similar around in Manchester growing up, or did you have this sort of thing with the supporters and booze? I mean, what was your reaction, Scholesy?
What, to Trent?
Yeah, but what did you feel when you saw that?
I think it's difficult when, you know, as you said about people from Liverpool are going to have a a majorly different view. A little bit surprised by Gareth's view. He's almost like, yeah, okay, fair enough. That doesn't seem the view of most Liverpool fans when you see the booing at the weekend. I try to think of players. We had Gaz in if I felt it was a man...
I know people say, when I've used Bex as an example, they say, yeah, but he wasn't from Manchester, but he was a...
That's what I was going to say.
He may as well have been, because from the age of literally 5, 6 years of age, he supported United. His mum and dad came up every single week to watch. He joined the club at 13, and he'd been with the club 13 years. He's near as damn it as, you know, as a United lad as you could get. And obviously he did, you know, he did leave. And the thing with Bex was it came as a shock at the end of the season when no one was expecting it. So if you remember at the end of the season, that last game of the season, he obviously did that whisper on the pitch to me, which said, I'm leaving to go. I think they want to sell me.
Do you think it was a big shock?
No, not to us.
It's come to the end.
Yeah,
the
it was come to an end.
Come to an end.
But I think it was a bit of a shock to the fans at the time that it actually happened within a week of the end of the season. But the other one is Ronaldo, and I know it's completely different again, but Ronaldo at the end of the 2008 Champions League game said, I want to leave, didn't he? Which is a massive thing at the end. And if you remember, United negotiated another year, and he played for the whole season, and everyone in that stadium, everyone in the club knew that he was leaving. But he actually still got a decent reception all year, to be fair to him. Now, I know it's different, maybe, but they're the only two things. They're the two things I can think.
I think
was
it's
real
different
when
to Trent, though.
He got caught chatting to Kenyan, and he had people at his house. I know he's not an academy player, but it's similar, like the away ends were booing him.
Who's that? Sorry, Adam.
Real when he got caught having a chat with Peter Kenyan and stuff.
Chelsea.
Yeah. He had like people turning up to his house and things like that, which was a bit on top.
Can I ask a question? Like, what I don't understand is why Trent, in particular, is being sort of singled out when we know. I imagine there is some truth in the fact that Gerrard wanted to join Chelsea. Suarez was angling for a move to Arsenal. That's the same energy for me. So why weren't they, you know, vilified in the same way?
Well, I think, I mean, Gareth, I think probably have a similar sort of view. I think when players come in, you just mentioned Ronaldo there, you'd almost expect that they see this as a not the final destination. We know everybody else who comes to our club, if they end up moving to Madrid or Barcelona, it's a little bit like, we get it, we get it. Stevie ended up staying, so we did have that Chelsea stuff. Now, if Stevie would have gone, he would have had that, and when it was close to happening, it was a little bit like that. We've got to remember it's pre-social media as well. You know, social media, I think, in this day and age, amplifies everything. But I think it just goes back to that local lad thing. It's like you with Sol Campbell, which is obviously a lot worse because he goes to Arsenal.
Much worse.
I get that, a lot worse. No, I get that. But what I'm saying is, there's this feeling that, and I think that's probably the thing what I meant when people sort of telling Liverpool fans how to think. It's like, it's not a normal transfer. There's a lot around being a local player. And Trent, and rightly so, and I've done that, and probably you've done this as well as a Manchester lad, saying, I'm not saying you do it on purpose, but, you know, I hate Liverpool. I'm one of you. I'm like you. But so Trent sort of used that, I'm just a local lad, I want to be the next Steven Gerrard, I want to be the captain, I'm just a normal lad who's living his dream. You can't use all those words, you can't use that for years and years and play on the heartstrings of supporters and then go, I'm going to Real Madrid for free. The team who have beaten Liverpool in 2 European Cup finals that he's played in.
And it feels engineered as well, doesn't it? It feels like this has been a long-term tactic for him to go there.
Oh, he's done that deal quite a bit ago.
Exactly.
Is it not also as well because you probably feel like you're more set up for success in the next 2 or 3 years than you were when, say, Gerrard and the Chelsea thing happened?
Well, obviously, because everyone outside of our bubble will tell us Real Madrid are a bigger club than you. They've won more European Cups than you, whatever. But we'll say, we've just won the league and we want to go for the European Cup next season. And we might be playing Real Madrid. And I'll tell you what, if he comes back to Anfield with Real Madrid, he'll hear boos that night. Do you know what I mean?
But Real Madrid is the only destination outside of that a player for Liverpool or Man United would choose to go to. That seems to be the case.
Does he feel appreciated? I'm not about just on Liverpool, but in this country, just generally. You think about it, he's not playing for England. He's not played for England. Like, I know he's played for England a few times, but compared to sort of like the fact that he's what a player he is, but his defensive elements of his game, which we've all highlighted over many years, means that does he not feel appreciated in this country?
I think this is a point that frustrates Liverpool supporters even more about the transfer, because you've got to remember this is probably the most talked about fullback we've ever spoke about, because he's unique. And when we think about great fullbacks, yourself included, you think about really good defenders, and he's different. Yeah. We get that. But this is, again, why Liverpool supporters feel really upset about him, because Liverpool supporters have been the one who feel like they've been defending this lad to everybody, whether it's you on the overlap and Roy, whether it's us in the Sky Studio, whether it's supporters around the ground saying Reece James is better, Kyle Walker, he can't defend, he can't do this. Liverpool fans feel like they've been the one who's been fighting for their boy for like 8 years, for everyone against the country. England's in the summer, midfield, is he there, is he there? Everyone feels like the country's on top of him. So I get that, he mightn't feel appreciated. But the Liverpool supporters think, we've been the one who's been absolutely dying for you and championing you and defending you to everyone. And then you've left on a free.
I know, but he does. I mean, look, it might be little things. To be fair, the fact that Real Madrid came in for him, the fact that he obviously got a relationship with Bellingham and he might want to go abroad and do something, but he does get substituted quite a lot in terms of the last 15, 20 minutes. It feels like he gets substituted a lot, and I watch a lot of, not as many as you, but you just feel like last 20 minutes when they're under pressure, you would see Joe Gomez coming on quite a bit at times. And maybe, does he feel like, just generally, that this country or the fact that he's not playing for England, he gets substituted at times for Liverpool and maybe misses the last 15 minutes because they save him. Does he? I don't know, maybe there's just something. One day it may come out with him, but I mean, I in terms of criticising him for him defending, all I ever said with his defending was he just has to get a little bit more serious and attentive to his defensive work. That's all. That's the language I always used about it, because I thought it is going to hurt you at some point, and it is hurting him because, and it'll hurt Conor Bradley. Conor Bradley got subbed on Sunday. I'm convinced because Trossard and Martinelli started to target him a little bit. And until you knuckle down your side and you stop people coming down your side, you will just continually get targeted. You have to stop it coming down your side. So for me, I think...
Yeah, talk about being loved at your club. I remember saying on air, Jamie, that I actually wasn't sure that Arne Slot liked him. No, in his team. I remember I did the United game at Old Trafford and he kept it in these passes, these long passes, and I don't think he wants that. He kept.
You seen Slot's reaction on the bench?
Yeah,
you were by the bench, weren't you?
Yeah, but right by the bench, and he kept shaking his head and putting his head down, looking at his bench. And it wasn't the type of right back he wanted, I don't think. So I think he wanted to be a little bit more controlled. And you never know. Around that time, he might have been thinking, if Madrid want me now, he could have signed his deal any time around then. Do you know what I mean? You talk about not being loved, as Gaz said, not playing in the England team as well. There could be a big factor in that, and I think you're right. Liverpool fans they've had to defend him because he has had stick. We all know what a brilliant player he is and how good he is. His crossing, his passing's amazing, but defensively, outside of Liverpool, he has been given a lot of stick.
Just one point on the Liverpool could have took 20 million. I know they shouldn't have done, and they were right not to, but they could have taken 20 million quid for him in January, which was 4 months before the end of his contract. I know that was something that they were never going to do, but they could have got money for him. They were offered that money, weren't they? So, and I thought it was a bit provocative from Real Madrid. I thought it was a piss take, to be honest with you. But they could have got 20 million for him, which was,
Nothing nowadays, though, is it?
No, and it would have risked them winning the league, which, to be fair, you would never have taken that risk. But they could have got cash for it, but they weren't willing to risk their position for it to get 20 million, but they wanted him to basically risk his position by signing a contract. That's the bit that I'm not agreeing with that. I don't think he should have signed a contract just so the club got money.
No, it's not. I don't think it's actually for the club. I think it's for his own standing with the supporters and how they think about him. They think, well, okay, you've given us a little bit back. I don't think it's a thing with the club as such. I've had enough of the subject now. It's time for our new game, On the Winning Track, brought to you by Trainline. Their best price guarantee means you won't find cheaper same-day train tickets anywhere else. And even if you do, Trainline will refund the difference. Exclusions and conditions apply. Search Best Price Guarantee on trainline.com. Right then, our fans will compete against each other to identify a mystery footballer here on our Trainline board. We've actually, Gary Neville, the boss, we got the boss in today. So Gary is going to take Wayne Rooney's place and hopefully do a little bit better than he did about working out where the clubs are on here. So Gary will place a club on the board and our fans have got to guess who. The only clues they will receive are that the teams that said mystery player are played for from the start of their career to the finish. So loan clubs don't account. The winning team will receive a Trainline voucher. Ooh. Yeah. And that'll come in handy for the next away day. If you guess, as you know, straight away and you're wrong, you're out. To answer, you need to shout your name and raise your hand. Gary, please name the teams as you place them on the board. So this is an example. Manchester United, I know it's Welbeck. Did he go to Watford or Arsenal first? Arsenal. Yeah, whatever. So that's it. Yeah, Gary, take them off, put them round the back. And then we'll go from there. So it's the best of 3 quizzes, and the first up will be Gareth and Dan v Simon and Luke. Right.
To me first.
The mystery player. So you know the mystery
Yeah.
player is.
So
Yes.
the first club
okay.
is Liverpool.
Go on, where would that go on the map?
It's near Wales, isn't it? Somewhere. Over there somewhere.
Yeah.
It's around there somewhere.
We'll take that. We'll take
Is
that.
it around here?
Right, any guesses
Go on
first
now.
of all?
Every week.
No one's going to guess, Hardy.
No one guessing that?
No. I think they'll get it on the next one, though.
The next club is City. Around here.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah, we'll go.
firm a guess on Sterling.
Did you say, raise your hand and say your name?
Yeah, Luke Sterling.
Yes. Raheem Sterling. Luke has got that one. That was an easy one.
He did. QPR, actually, yeah.
They got so much heat believing it became a whole like thing.
Hang on, yeah, it was.
Yeah, where's QPR?
Yeah, it was an academy there, wasn't it?
Non-league.
Cool. Did he play a game for QPR?
Yeah, I think so.
No, he's 15.
He didn't. So stay out of it.
I'm talking about the under 18s, I don't know.
Right.
Right, next player. What's the first one you've got there, Gaz?
Non-league. I mean, there you go.
Non-league.
Just put it right in the middle. There's nowhere else for it to
Non-league.
go.
We'll go Simon and Luke, Jamie Vardy.
No, you're out.
I
Why would you do that?
Make it entertaining, guys.
Make it entertaining. It'll be over in 2 minutes.
Right.
Right.
I may as well have all the clubs now.
Queen's Park Rangers. I don't know if I'm right there, but it must be out London there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Is it West? Yeah.
Yeah.
Go on.
QPR.
QPR.
Non-league to
No, they're not going
QPR.
to go for that.
Newcastle. Oh my God, where's Newcastle now? Is it up here somewhere?
Where?
Where though? Is it?
Glasgow Rangers.
Where's Scotland start?
Is Scotland about there?
No, it's
That's fine.
there, isn't it?
Oh, Scotland there. So where's Newcastle here?
Who's there? Is Newcastle over this side?
Yeah.
Non-league and Newcastle.
QPR to Newcastle.
Is that where is Newcastle fan here?
It's about there.
It's about there.
Yeah.
Is it there?
Right, what's next, guys?
Spurs.
No.
No.
So you've ruined this game now.
How? I made it
You can't
interesting.
lose.
How have I
Just
ruined
wait
it?
until the very end.
I think I know who it is.
Fuming.
Is this in order? I don't know where clubs that they've moved from. Is it?
This is their journey.
It's in order, yeah.
Okay. I think
So
So QPR to Newcastle.
That's it. Sure that he didn't. I don't know where he started.
Because he was at Spurs.
Tottenham.
We're not allowed to guess, are we? No.
Oh, guys,
I wouldn't have known.
Who starts at QPR and went to Newcastle? I mean, they're obviously the big name players.
I think I've got this one. Just now.
I've got it.
Then he went to Tottenham.
That's what I thought. Why am I struggling with
We can't be waiting around. What's the
I
next
actually
one,
think it
guys?
gets harder. I think it's harder.
No, what's the next one?
Go on.
West Ham. Where are West Ham there?
I'm wrong. I don't think he went there. I'm wrong. Did he?
Non-league.
I have no idea where Leicester is. I go a bit, but I just don't know where it is.
A lot of non-league clubs.
You're getting through this. So this is typical Gary Neville straight
Leicester.
line position. Let's get this. Leicester.
Oh, Leicester. I'm telling you where Manchester is.
Just above the non-league.
Leicester is.
Go on, no, don't tell me. You put Leicester where you think.
I have no idea.
No one say a word. You put Leicester where you think.
no
it is.
idea.
I've got no idea.
Well, it's East Midlands, is it, Leicester?
When this is coming.
East Midlands.
I don't know.
Is it over here somewhere?
Yeah, obviously. I believe that's the east of the Midlands.
We were never getting
No, I'm glad you went.
he's
I'm
not.
glad you
He's
went,
just
man. Do a
going out,
punt.
you're not
Do a
getting
punt.
Bolton.
You're not going to get this if you haven't got it in the first three.
Bolton's in here somewhere.
It's just getting harder.
teams are there.
Yeah, that doesn't help.
I can't even think. Who's that? What's that saying?
How have you ended up not
Reading.
getting beat?
Reading.
You know,
Reading's over here somewhere.
Jamie, I've got him.
Oh, hang on.
And then Watford.
The teams on.
Wow. Games. I've got
Have you not got it?
I haven't.
We're not allowed
I
to
genuinely
go.
don't know.
No one got it.
No.
Don't know.
I thought it was Leicester.
Is Leicester.
It is.
Yes.
What is this for?
No,
Oh my God.
The non-league right, didn't know he started in non-league.
I'm down.
I'm thinking of
down.
like.
All right, I need
Real
to
players.
go back.
Yeah. No points for anybody.
No one deserved any points.
Right, here we go. Round three. Go on, Gaz.
Where's Leeds?
I would say.
Over here.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
Leeds to Newcastle again. Is it up here, is it?
Yeah, Simon and Luke.
We were going to show
James Milner.
Yes.
Yes.
You see that? The lack of conviction from me there. I should have called it out, shouldn't I? I've tried to be sound.
Simon and Luke are the winners. 2-0. Guys, you've let us down here.
I should have just called out.
Another game next time, thanks to Trainline. Remember to download the Trainline app and search best price guarantee on trainline.com. Right, let's get to Arsenal. Simon, semi-final of the Champions League. You know, you're getting close to sort of the biggest trophy you can probably win. I just wanted to ask you about Arteta's comments after the game about being the best team in the Champions League. I mean, what were your thoughts?
So, I think, and again, who knows? I think he's referring to statistics. Because if you actually look through statistics, Arsenal played pretty well. The issue is they don't actually score a lot of goals, but don't score goals when they need to score goals. So I think that is what he was getting at. But at the same time, the best team in the Champions League is the people that win the Champions League. It just is, right? No one in 4 years' time is going to go, did you see the statistics of Arsenal? It was really, really good. But at the same time, I think it all depends on what he's saying to the players. They can come out and say whatever he wants, right? Is it a deflection tactic? I don't know. But I think mostly the comment that seemed to get people is, you know, we were the better team against PSG. And in sections we were, but overall we weren't. Like, I was at that first game at the Emirates. The first 20 minutes, I've never been that scared in my entire life. When we just parted like the Red Sea and left Dembele alone, I was like, listen, even I know don't do that. And they took advantage of it. But then, what did we do? We turned it on. The second half was better. I think Arteta made a good point. I don't think he should have said it because you're just setting yourself up for failure. I think you can tie it to the Liverpool game as well, right? At first half, once again, I was like, we're going to get twonked 7-0 here. Like, honestly, there was some real bad moments. But then it's much like the PSG first leg. Half-time, he says something to them. They come out, they remember who they are, and they played way better. And all of a sudden, we're 2-2. That's why I like the boos. Definitely made you all go, what? And we took advantage of it. So thank you, Liverpool fans. Appreciate that. Sure. And it's just, I think that all the conversations that are happening now about Arteta, I think need to happen in 12 months' time, depending on who we buy.
Have we not said that for like 2 or 3 years?
Yeah, I know, but it's different now, right? Because we have not had a number 9 since Aubameyang, right? We haven't. But the priority, if there's a big list, should be who do we want as our striker? They get told this is what we're going to do. And then, if we're sat here next May and we're in the exact same position, then you have to start looking elsewhere.
But you're talking elsewhere in terms of a manager?
Well, this is difficult for me because if I feel how I feel now, I'd be happy to go again with Arteta. But I am looking at it from a very specific point of view, and I understand that. I really like the DNA running through the club. I love what he's done over the last few years. And I love this team. So I would much rather win it with the way that I feel now as opposed to get someone in that maybe doesn't have the same relationship with the fans. That's not how football works.
I mean, I said on Sunday after the game, because I've been thinking about this, because I do think Arteta's done a really good job. And I know he's created something at Arsenal. There is a togetherness with the supporters. I think, you know, you can see the way they're going and they're nearly there. But, you know, next season, you know, if they don't quite get there again, I said the Arsenal board will have that decision where, of course, we want to win the league, we want to win the Champions League, we want to win something. But they'll also be terrified that what they've actually got right now could disappear. You know, where you end up fighting for Champions League. I mean, do you see sort of next season where it's almost he has to win, or Arsenal board are going to be in a difficult situation?
Yeah, I was going to say he has to get close to winning, but I think he is close to winning, isn't he?
Yeah, I agree.
And I think he's done a great job. As you say, for the 4 or 5 years, I'd snap my hand off if United were in that position in the next 4 or 5 years. I just worry it's going on to that next stage, isn't it now? They've got to a great place, finishing second 3 times, semi-final Champions. I know they won the FA Cup in the first year, didn't it?
Yeah,
I think. Right. It almost feels a bit like the Gareth Southgate, where he's done a brilliant job, but now can he get him over the line? I just think there's them question marks out. But I don't think it'll be now. I think you give him at least a year, 2 years. He's built something brilliant from where they were. They were in an awful position, weren't they?
Oh, yeah. Awful. And so inconsistent.
Yeah.
And no personality.
To where they are now, to where they are now is it's so much better. And as an Arsenal fan, I'd love to be in that position. I don't know what you think, Gaz, as a United fan now. I'd love to be in that position now.
I do think there's a mentality difference between Arsenal and United. I do think winning a trophy is absolutely critical. I think Liverpool, are similarly. I mean, Arsenal are a great club. It's a club I would have played for if I couldn't play for United. But for Arsenal, Arteta will definitely want to win a trophy, and the players will definitely want to win trophies. I think it's important to them. But from an ownership, I think you've just hit the nail on the head. If the owners are looking at it, I'm not sure that owners anymore, they'd love to win a trophy, but the fact of the matter is...
When you say trophy, like Champions League,
the Premier League.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, I think if these continuing to deliver seconds and thirds, getting close, delivering them Champions League football, delivering the revenues, protecting the revenues, which we know are massive for these clubs, I don't think they will look to sack him. As long as the dressing room and the actual
No,
fan base.
that's when I think the fans will come into it, though, won't they?
The fans will then start.
The owners probably not,
fans
but I
will
think the
start,
fans will.
But that's what happened with Arsene Wenger in the end. I think he was giving them Champions League football for so long. It was like 7 or 8 years, wasn't it? And in the end, because he wasn't winning a trophy, they had to, obviously, the fans got on top, and that's how
They turned him in the stadium.
Yeah, so I think, but I don't think the owners will turn on Arteta. I think it'll be the fan base that will say a trophy is important to us. I'm not sure at this moment in time the owners will be sat there thinking anything other than supporting him. And I wouldn't do anything else. I'd be delighted if United were in this position. But at United, I think after 3-4 years of finishing second, I think there'd be an element of you've got to win it.
Yeah, but that's the same at Arsenal, because they've been 3 or 4 years now, haven't they, finishing second?
I get that, but I don't think the owners. I genuinely think the owners would let this carry on for another 3 or 4 years as a second. I think they would. The fans probably wouldn't, but the owners would.
I think it depends on how I feel about the team. At the moment, it still feels exciting because it feels like people still want to come to us. Like if Zubimendi comes, great, that's excellent. That can fill a hole that we absolutely need. But again, it depends how close we get next year. Because let's face it, we could actually not finish second this season.
The football has to come back a little bit. I mean, I think that ultimately the football has deteriorated a little bit from obviously 3 years ago to now.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
They do feel a little bit overcoached and rigid, don't they? When you watch them, and then certainly in set pieces, they look like they're like micromanaged within an inch of their life.
Oh, the set pieces,
which is fair enough.
What hole is Zubimendi going to fill out? I don't see a hole there.
I'm surprised you say that. I'm really surprised you say that.
Why?
Because honestly, I genuinely don't believe Partey and Rice on receiving the ball are anywhere near as good as some of the other midfield players in the league in terms of, you watch Fabian Ruiz, PSG and Ruiz, and you watch Barcelona, you watch the boy at Inter Milan in midfield get on the ball, and you even watch some players like at City in the past. I think Arsenal in midfield, I think Declan Rice is a brilliant player, I think Partey's a very good player. I don't think they've got anybody that can control a football match properly in the top games. I think they really struggle on that. I think Jorginho's the best of them. I'm surprised you don't see that they need someone who can get all the ball and keep it moving. And I know Ødegaard does it here, but I think they struggle sometimes.
I think Declan Rice can do that. You see Declan Rice more of a forward-going player. I don't see that in him at all.
So does Arteta.
That's the thing.
I don't see it in him.
I think Zubimendi is being brought in to do exactly that job, so Rice can start.
So Arteta basically in two of the last 3 seasons, at the pinch points of the season, has moved Declan Rice from being in that deeper position to a number literally left side pocket running forward because he knows he's better off going. I think Arteta's seeing that himself.
I think in terms of bringing him in, he's obviously a really good player. I think it's not just in terms of those players and Partey, and obviously they're not that type of player, getting on the ball and turn. But I definitely think there's a style issue with Arsenal.
Do you think that would deal with it, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, people keep talking about the striker. We look on these stats every time we do Monday Night Football. We look at Arsenal don't create enough chances. They don't. The numbers are there. It's in black and white. Now, of course, if they have a goal scorer, they get a few more goals. But I think they know that as well. When we had the Southampton manager on, I haven't finished. When we had Russell Martin coming on. Obviously, at Southampton, his style of form, but he had some sort of link with maybe some of the staff at Arsenal. They got on well, or they spoke to each other, and he was almost saying that they've been on this journey, and I've said they've started at Pep Guardiola and they've almost finished at Jose Mourinho. No, I watch it in Paris Saint-Germain. You're batting them for the first 20 minutes. You had 11 long throws. I watched David Raya in games, even at Anfield and in PSG. He takes free kicks on his own half the way Everton used to with Sean Dyche, with Jordan Pickford. By the way, this is not a criticism. I'm fascinated by the style of Arsenal, how it's gone from sort of being this, and it's moved, and it's almost gone from sort of Pep Guardiola light to full Jose Mourinho. It's not a criticism.
He's followed Pep again, because what Pep did when he won the treble, when he played those 4 big centre-halves across his defence and went a bit more rigid himself. He then followed
It's not about being rigid, I'm talking about being direct. Pep Guardiola has never been direct.
Do you remember that?
I watch Arsenal, I look at the stat, they go long so often, they rely on set pieces. It's all out of the Jose Mourinho playbook. Clean sheets, set pieces,
a couple of years ago, Pep changed quite a bit a couple of years ago to win the treble.
He didn't change his style, Gary.
No, he changed quite a bit, and Arsenal got beat up at City away, if you remember, when they didn't have the strength in the team. And then he went and Arsenal went a bit more rigid, a bit more solid, which I thought the balance last season was really good at Arsenal.
I agree.
I thought they had the balance of the physicality and they had the balance of the play. This season, they've gone too far the other way. But going back to what you said before, I'm really surprised because the reason people that played with you said that you were the best player that they've ever played was because how important you were at ensuring we had the rhythm in the game. When you think about Arsenal recycling that ball from Saka...
Do you know what I probably
Arsenal do this about literally 50
yeah.
times a half, and they haven't got anybody who gets that ball that plays that sort of... You know, Bruno does it really well for United.
I think you do, because we see Ødegaard on the ball a lot.
And they'll be plays
do you know what? I saw Zubimendi against United for Sociedad and I wasn't impressed. That's maybe where I'm coming from for filling that hole.
Well, that's fair.
But I think the centre forward will make a big difference in it and make a big difference to Odegaard as well.
This is my thing. I think genuinely, you fill that role properly, I think we become more creative. And listen, the second half against PSG in Paris, we did have loads of chances, we just didn't put them away. And that's what we always do. That's why I think it's so important and why people keep going back to it. Because when you watch them week in, week out, you're like, they did just every now and then have an aim, a centre point, which is going to go to that guy. Because I think what you're talking about, and I feel like Arteta will always look at his squad, especially when he's got injuries, and say, who are my top players and what can I get out of this team against who we're playing? So he doesn't mind going super defensive, doesn't mind going super set piece. But then I think you hit the nail on the head last year, when he did have a more balanced squad, he was like, well, now I can be more creative. And we could, once again, it could just be all in our heads. But I think if you fill that striker role, you bring in Zubimendi, Partey, again, I thought Partey was going to be the solution in the second leg of the Champions League, and he was responsible for both the goals. I mean, there are errors, it happens. There's nothing you can do. But that's when I was like, well, maybe we do just need to not necessarily move him on. I'd love for him to stay, because the other problem Arsenal have is the bench is not great. The squad depth is not great. Like against Liverpool, I was like, man, this is just, I don't even know where we've got some of these players from. So if he is happy to take more of a secondary role, then you bring in Zubimendi, who I think could do that role well, but we don't know until he joins the Premier League. And then you've got a striker, and again, if we're waving magic wands, you get Nico Williams in there to add to the creative issue that maybe we do have. Although I think we are pretty creative when we're on our game. It's just trying to...
He's going to have to sign 2 forwards and a midfield player, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you.
He leaves the rest of the squad in place, because I think there's a lot to like about the squad.
Well, they don't need to muck around with the defence, right?
No.
Saliba and Gabriel, when they are together, they make each other better. And I think Arteta knows that. So when he's got issues up front, he goes, well, I know they will be rock solid, so we'll play from then, and we'll play for set pieces. And I don't mind that. I think the bigger issue this year, I think he said it himself, right? If you compare this season to last season, this year is not as good. That's not great, but then you have the semi-final of the Champions League, then you get your hope.
Okay, we go from a team who can't win anything this season to a team who maybe have a chance. Dan, Crystal Palace, the cup final. I mean, you've been there a few times, haven't you, in the last few years, cup finals?
Well, yeah, we were in a semi against Chelsea in 22,
yeah,
and we got to the final in 16 against United. But this is different this time. Not because I expect to win, but because I genuinely think there is a chance. Like, if you go back to 16, we had a lot of players in that squad that Palace fans love. Jason Punchin, Damien Delaney, Joel Ward, but in terms of their ceiling and in terms of their hunger, they just weren't the same. You've got players all over our 11, if they're fully fit, who can make a difference. And I think we've seen all the way through this season that Oliver Glasner, he has a different mentality to a lot of, well, pretty much every Palace manager that I can remember. You go back to the Arsenal game midweek before the semi-final against Villa, you put a strong team out, we played very hard in that game, we got a 2-2 draw. Even back to Sunday at Spurs, obviously, there's still a week to go, but we put pretty much a full-strength team out and just blew them away. Now, you could argue that that's a risk and reward thing, but his whole mentality is we don't rotate, we try and win every single game. And that is, I'm not trying to come back to Roy Hodgson just for the sake of it. If we'd still had Roy Hodgson in charge, he'd have made 11 changes. And no Palace fan would necessarily have said that's the wrong thing to do. But Oliver Glasner's whole mentality is basically trying to turn us into a club with a better mentality. And that gives me hope going into this game.
What you've just said there, I mean, if you win the cup final, this team is going to be, the greatest team in Crystal Palace's history. But in terms of what you've just said there about teams of the past, I said this, and listen, I'm not a Crystal Palace fan, so who am I to tell you what to think?
Depends what you say.
Do you think this is the best team you've had in the Premier League here, or you've got the best individuals? Because we were looking at it compared to teams who've been in cup finals, and we felt that was the case.
Well, I think you have to look at the arc of the last 12, 13 years. Prior to this current stay in the Premier League, which started in 2013, we haven't spent more than a single year in the Premier League at once. We get relegated, we come back. And, that leads to a higher level of player. But if you look through the team, Maxence Lacroix at the back, Mark Gay at the back, Dean Henderson, Daniel Munoz, Adam Wharton, Abir Eze, Ismail Assar, John Philippe Mateta, these are good footballers. And they're hungry and they believe that they have the ability to do it. I think also it's something that inside the Palace bubble people are aware of. If you look back to last summer, you have Jefferson Lerma and Daniel Munoz in the Copa America final with Colombia. You had Mark Gay, Dean Henderson, Abir Eze, etc. in the final of the Euros with England. You had John Philippe Mateta getting to the Olympic final with France. None of them won it, but they all got there. And that in itself is obviously not something you can necessarily associate with Crystal Palace. But I think this group genuinely believe they can do it and will have that desire to sort of push over the line. Obviously, Man City are a top side, and if they play to their full potential, we probably will lose. But it's certainly different from 16 because the squad is just better and the mentality is far stronger.
Dan, I heard you on a podcast a few weeks ago that you'd been given an offer in the cup final to do something for TV.
Yeah.
And you weren't quite sure whether to stay with your mates in the crowd or do the TV. What did you do?
Staying with my mates. Genuinely, you know, the prospect of... I mean, look, my dad is 67 and he's the reason I support Palace. He's the reason I care as much about him as I do. And obviously, you know, career-wise, you get into a final, you do the TV stuff, it's great. But I couldn't envisage looking at 35,000 Palace fans if we win and being in that sterile... I want to hug my dad, you know. So even if we lose, I won't regret it because it's what you do it for. We've never won anything before. So it's almost like the first time. Obviously, we're playing City. If you ask any City fan, the Aguero goal against QPR will be above anything they achieve after because it's their first Premier
leave it
title.
out.
13 years ago today.
Leave it out.
So for us,
today, anyone that celebrates.
For us, if we go on and win this and I'm not able to hug my dad and my mates who I go with every week, what's the point, you know?
What a shame you couldn't do both.
Well, they said to me, unfortunately, it's TV or nothing. And I said...
you before the game?
No, apparently not. It's the whole thing all the way through.
Oh, okay.
So I you know, impossible situation.
Hug him when you get home.
Right, Luke, does the FA Cup final, could it possibly salvage the season?
Salvage? I mean, if you win a trophy and get in the top 5, I mean, after the weekend... Yeah, well, top 5. Well, I mean, Southampton away was not a pretty experience, 0-0. That was poor, to be honest. If we start there, drawn 0-0 against arguably one of the worst teams we've ever seen in the Premier League, I think it was a bit arrogant, the team we started. There's a lot of players that haven't really been playing in the games we've been winning. So we're still unbeaten for quite a while, actually, but I thought that was poor. And then we go to...
outrageous, Rúben Diaz, by the way.
Yeah, I thought that was poor as well. But I feel like we've almost stumbled before the cup final. If you look at kind of a pattern of when City stumble, maybe not this season, but in the past, we tend to win after we've not done so well, if you get what I mean. We bounce back usually quite well, so I'd hope we can go to Wembley. I think it's visit 29 for myself to Wembley. So it's a bit of a contrasting experience to over there, but we still want to win it. We still want to win it, you know. Win a
Are you
trophy.
worried about, because this season hasn't been normal for City, so you can't win the League or the European Cup every year, but you're still a top team. You haven't been that for most of the season. Does that mean there's a greater worry going into the final when you listen to Dan talk about the players that they have?
Yeah, no, I think they're a great team, but I think playing them a few weeks ago will probably help. We went 2-0 down. I think if we do that in a final, we're finished at Wembley, but we did win 5-2, so I think that'll be playing in the back of their mind a bit. But I am confident for the game. I do think they've got a great team. I look at them and I think maybe the league position doesn't quite reflect it. I know they had quite a poor start, but they finished last season well. Yeah. And then obviously the position they're in now, kind of mid-table. But to get to the final, I thought they absolutely battered Villa as well in the semi. So they'll be looking at that and trying to replicate it. And I think they've got a great team. This isn't even a dig, but we lost to a mid-table team last year in the final. That's not a dig. That's a genuine fact. And we've got the same again. And if we stumbled last year, we could stumble again. It's not a dig. It's literally not a dig factually.
I can't fucking wait till we're at
8th and 16th.
I can't wait for that moment. I just can't wait. It's going to come.
How long?
Be a few years.
Raise your hand.
It's not a dig. It's the 8th and 16th is mid-table. Palace are 13th.
Who wants Crystal Palace to win the cup final?
That's obviously me as well. Sorry, I didn't put my hand. It represented.
Any Forest or Brighton or Brentford fans here would be supporting City, I think, just because if Palace win the FA Cup, then it's the domino effect to the European places. So obviously if City win and get Champions League or Europa, whatever it is, it'll drop down and you'll get like an 8th place team getting in Europe and 7th will get Europa League.
I was going to say as well, just quickly, the 5-2, because that was a real sliding doors day, because we were 2-0 up. Eze was offside to go 3-0 up by about 6 inches. Obviously, you go 3-0 up at half-time, whether it's City, home or away, it doesn't really matter, you're going to win the game. But I was reminded of it the other day. Mark Gay was banned for that. And Mark Gay, for us, ever-present, captain, extremely good defender. And I think if you look at Oliver Glasner at half-time, he made a move to shore up the defence, and it was something he never normally does. And he actually said afterwards, I won't be making that mistake again because it's not what we do.
No, I was watching that game that day. I watched the whole game, and he took Mateta off at half-time.
Yeah, he did.
He played with the system in the first half, which was working really well, and he sort of went backwards a little step, didn't he? He put an extra midfield player in. And it was a really strange thing to do.
Well, we conceded the free kick to De Bruyne just before
Yeah.
half-time. The momentum changed. Then he made that tactical shift. We conceded straight after half-time, and it just fell apart from there. But in terms of our defensive solidarity, we play 3 centre-backs, Chris Richards, Maxence Lacroix and Mark Gay. And Mark Gay is the most important of the 3. And I forgot that he wasn't part of the 11 that day. So I'm not suggesting it's the be-all and end-all, but certainly in terms of a 5-2 scoreline, it does change it as far as I'm concerned.
Let's get on to Manchester United. Adam, Europa League Final. Do you think the game's more important for Manchester United, or I mean,
I don't know. It'd be a bit. Obviously, Spurs fans will hold importance to it as well, and it'll be a little bit arrogant of me to go, yeah, it means more to us than it does to them. But it's massive for Manchester United when you look at the financial implications as well. I hate that we have to talk about winning cup finals because of the financial implications.
It ruins it. It's the same. Just to jump in there for 1 second, it's the same with City. Like the Champions League, getting in the Champions League, we have a game 3 days after the FA Cup final against Bournemouth at home. If we win that, we're likely going to get in the Champions League. And there's people debating, which game's more important. You've got the FA Cup final, and you've got a home game to get in the top 5. It's crazy, isn't it? But
yeah, it is depressing when you have to turn into an accountant based on trophies. But huge day for United. Getting Champions League football, the financial implications of that would make the summer a whole lot easier, and Amorim's job a little bit easier as well. But yeah,
do you think about it in terms of Amorim? You just mentioned there, because I'm thinking about his quotes as well from the weekend. But it's going to take a long time, and to sort of fix United. Does this could this almost feel like he put you back 12 months in terms of the financial sort of landscape? It's like, where does he go from there if he hasn't got money in the summer to spend and really change and put a stamp on the squad?
How much you read into them that we will have money there without Champions League football, but obviously it'd be a lot different with the Champions League football. You look at like the kind of money Liverpool earned just for being in the group stages, it was astronomical, and that would be massive for Manchester like in the summer. But I just think in terms of the mood as well, we've kind of been holding on for this Europa League final, going, wow, we're going to win that. So the league form, we can put the last couple of months to the side. But if we lose it, it would be a little bit worrying. And I like to be patient. I like to give managers time. I also like Rúben Amorim, the way he speaks about the club, the job at hand. I think he's spot on with most of the things he says. Sometimes he's almost honest to a fault. But I do worry if we lose that final going into next season, the first couple of weeks then just become massive for us.
How worried are you about his comments? Because we all like our managers to be honest, sometimes. But you've just said that, is he too honest? And when he's talking about, I said a few months ago, he said something about like, this is the worst Manchester United team in the Premier League. I thought that was a strange thing to say. But he said something after the game at the weekend about maybe getting a new manager in next season if this continues.
I think he's just aware of the fact of what club is that. Like you said earlier, Gary said earlier about Arteta, you're not going to get those chances to finish 8th, 5th, and maybe build something in a couple of years. So I think he's just aware of the fact that he has to get it right quickly, even though he has to also go for a rebuild. If Manchester United players have an issue with him saying that this is the worst Premier League team in the club's history, then they've got a problem with themselves, because I think it's the position in the league speaks volumes for that. Could he do things a little bit better in the league? Maybe. Would he have to sacrifice his philosophy and his culture to do that? Yes. So I'm kind of happy for him to stick by his guns. I just think if we're going to play these league games the way we are, maybe just try and use a few more young players, because whilst it is all up in the air for the summer, we don't know how many players we can bring in. I think the youth could be a way out of it for United.
Gary, when Amorim was in charge, we're just looking at something I think you said on Stick to Football, that you thought Man United have a challenge for the Champions League position. They were only 4 points off top 4. You keep having to remind yourself a little bit that the reason you make the change is because you think you've got a chance of getting to Champions League position. But just a couple of stats here. Joint highest number of league defeats in a single season since 1963. Man United have failed to score in 14 Premier League games this season. Only Southampton, Everton and Leicester have not scored in more. And it's only one game more, 15. I mean, where are you with Amorim? Is this season like a write-off, and we judge it properly next
I
season?
was just laughing.
To be honest with you, I know some United fans, some people who on the telly talk about United are really angry about what's happening at the weekend. I've got to the point whereby on Sunday I couldn't even watch it. It was on in the corner of the sort of truck, the truck that we're sitting in. I couldn't even watch it. I knew they were going to lose. And that's not right, that. So it's got to a point whereby he has got a real problem. He said after the game, didn't he, that the club they're going to need to be brave and courageous in the summer. I think he's going to... I mean, look, if they don't win in the Europa League Final, it's a big problem. It's a big, big problem. Because he's going to end up with the same players as next season. Because what United can't afford to do is spend 50 to 100 million, which is probably what they've got, and then be able to subsidise the losses of Rashford, Sancho, Casemiro... there's one more. Anthony. So you're going to have to basically subsidise probably another 25, 30, 40 million in their wages because there's no way. He doesn't want them. He won't want them next season, but they're going to have to pay for probably most of them.
That's going to be the hardest part of his job, is getting rid of people.
And that's what I think he was saying by being brave. I think he was alluding to, you're going to have to back me, and that means spending tens of millions to get rid of the players that you've signed previously, and then bring in another tens of millions of players to actually give him what he wants. And he's already identifying that he's under pressure. That's what I like about him. He will be under pressure in September, October, November if the same results are coming. He will be. There's no getting away from it because it's that bad. We've almost forgotten about it. And being honest, from what he picked up from where we were, he should have done better, and the players should have done better in the last part of this season. I mean, no one expected the dramatic drop that's happened. You can't say that he shouldn't have done better, but because he's spoken with such honesty and that we know the recruitment in the club's been abhorrent in the last 3, 4, 5 years. But I thought last summer when they signed those players, when they signed De Ligt, they signed, obviously those Xerxes, Agate, trying to think who else. Yoro. I actually thought, do you know something? This should be a team that go and qualify for Champions League this year. I think most of us thought Manchester United would finish in the Champions League. I think maybe even you had them in the Champions League places. What's happened? I have no idea. I have no idea what's happening there in respect of on the pitch, in the dressing room, but he needs to wipe them out. It's got to the point now whereby, I mean, other than... And
how can he, if he... Say you don't win you lose the Europa League Final, there's not that money, you still need players to play.
You're talking about 8 to 10 players have to go. They has to get them out.
But they can only do that though if they're in the Champions League, though, can't they? Is that what you're saying?
There's 3 or 4 players who will leave through being out of contract, so there's 3 or 4 players just naturally will leave, and then he needs to get 5 or 6 out, and they're going to need to pay to get them out. Big money. They pay. Do you think Rashford's wages now will be paid half by Manchester United? So that's 180 grand a week. That's £8 million a year. He's been paid by United.
I read something the other day, Adam. You might know that. I know it was in the paper, but it was. They said Casemiro's wages would go up from 350.
No,
is that rubbish? No, if they qualify for the Champions League.
If they're not in the Champions League, the players' wages come down by 20-25%.
No, but they're not in the Champions League. What they were saying is if they get in it, his wages go up to
they've come down this year and they go back up next year.
Come back down this year, they'll go back up 20-25%. Yeah.
You got to look at the squad though, and I do think, whilst I don't think the position is acceptable where we are, to say that the team is ready for a manager to kind of take and just, fire at the league, I think is mental. When you look at the squad, like we've got a striker that couldn't hit a barn door, no backup for him. You've got a goalkeeper that I don't think he trusts. Most of our centre-halves are picking up injuries left, right and centre. And then I went early on in September and I'm kind of going back to where I was with Manuel Ugarte. I just don't think he's good enough on the ball. Again, you were talking about Zubimendi and what he could bring to Arsenal. He does some good things off the ball in terms of winning possession back, but he gives possession away so much. You see it against West Ham at the weekend. He just fell on his arse. There's no one next to him. He just falls over, stays on the ground and watches him score. And it's like, I
always think it's a worry even when my own club do it, where you buy a player for big money who can't get in the team that you're buying them off, and they're happy to sell them.
And you watch PSG now and you go, I know why they sold him.
We said that about him at the time, Jamie, if you remember.
Yeah,
we said it about his mate De Ligt as well,
yeah. Hey, De Ligt's, I think De Ligt's a player though, man. I don't think...
look, he has done all right, yeah.
Yeah, I think De Ligt's good. I think Lenny Yoro's a talent, and I think Mazraoui's all right, but most of the business hasn't.
But if we look at United, and look, obviously Onana's not done very well, but if you look at the fact they've got Yoro, Lindelof, Maguire, Martinez, De Ligt.
How's Lindelof still?
Right, those 5 centre-halves there should be able to do a bloody good job in the Premier League. I mean, you look at other clubs and what they're doing. Those 5 defenders should be... You've got Luke Shaw as well. you've got Mazraoui, you've got Dalot. Up top, we had, when he came in, we had Anthony, Rashford, Garnacho, Højlund, Zirkzee, Ahmad, right? There's 6 players that I think that if you put them in another club, I think they would do a good job. I honestly, if you had Zirkzee...
Well, they are doing.
No,
some of them.
My point is, so for me, if you look at those 6 players, Anthony, even Sancho was there, was he gone by then?
You say this every year.
No, but
you
Cara,
do this every year. You go, we've got Rashford, we've got Sancho, we've got him. But
They're not good. Sancho's not good enough.
No,
like,
but
look at the state of him at Chelsea.
Cara, I know that. My point is, though, these players, I get they're not good enough, but what Manchester United do to players, I've said it's become a graveyard for players. They're not as bad as they're showing. Now, it's a horrible performance, but if you had Garnacho, Rashford and Ahmad and Zirkzee, Højlund, Bruno as your forward, all right, it's not perfect, it's not amazing, but to not score goals all season at that level, I'm sorry, that's not right.
So what I'm saying is you've gone through the centre-back, you said they're good enough, you said the strikers are good enough. So why are Man United, where are they, 16, 17?
Do you know something? I genuinely believe, and it's been a graveyard for every single player that's joined that club for 10 years apart from Bruno. There is not one player joined that club that's improved apart from Bruno Fernandes. And he's a standout, to be fair. He's amazing what he's doing. The rest of them, whether you go back to Di Maria, Schweinsteiger, every player that's signed has gone backwards.
Why? I think we can say
that's the mystery. That's the mystery.
Them players you just reeled off there,
That's the mystery.
We'd love to have them all now.
That's the mystery.
Why?
I don't know. Just because that's where you look at something that's just like, you can't explain it. You don't even know what's happening. Amorim must look at it and think, what's
you have
going
to try and think what it is. Is it the coaching?
But that's why you got to be brave, though. It's like we're saying Rashford's good and Anthony's good and this, that, and the other. But we had to let them go in January because ultimately Rashford was causing it, and that's why I get where the manager's got. You've listed 6, 7 players there. He's had 2 available to him, if that at times. Ahmad's been injured for a long time at times. Garnacho's been in and out of form.
We got rid of 2.
Like Højlund's been available on a regular basis. We got rid of
2 though. I mean, what I'm saying, I'm not disagreeing with him getting rid of any of them. I'm not saying they need to wipe them out, but I do genuinely believe if these players were en masse at another club, if those players were playing for Crystal Palace, right, they would be doing better than they are for Manchester United.
It's the pressure.
We all know that, but why? Can they not handle the club? Is that what it is?
I mean, you just play for Manchester United, obviously the most successful probably team in the club's history. You support them. Is the pressure playing for Manchester United, but it's too much for players? I mean, too much for these players?
It is without the support.
Is it too much for them to take on this pressure where they can't express themselves, they don't actually want to play? It's too much for them.
I think it has become too much for. I think the scrutiny, the criticism. I think it is a lot for them. I think it's a lot.
It's not just players, managers as well. Now,
yeah, it's a lot for them. It's a lot for them. I think it's a lot.
I was pleased
as well. On times we talked about the system as well, and he's still not getting results. I know Europa League, yeah, but sure, you can't just carry on doing the same thing every week. It's like Gary said, don't even watch games anymore at the weekend. Because you know they're going to lose.
Yeah.
Well, they've got Chelsea and Villa. Are you expecting United to lose the next 2 league games?
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if they drew at Chelsea.
I mean,
I wouldn't be surprised.
Roy came in to stick to football last week. He was absolutely fuming about and angry about the disgrace of the weekend and just throwing games away. And to be fair, you feel as if honestly, I've got to a point where it's even worse than anger. I don't even care about the weekends anymore. It's ridiculous.
It's trying to find a word to explain it. You think it's embarrassing?
Just forget about it.
I think it's worse.
There's no explanation.
It's Man United, and the manager's going to be here next year. Is he just saying I can go for 1 trophy next year?
The one bit that makes
I think
you've got to be able to do.
I think
we go for 4 trophies at the start of the year. You've got to somehow.
The bit that makes me angry.
Play teams to win games.
The bit that makes me angry is the 75,000 people turning up that basically are watching us get beat by Wolves or watching us get beat by every West Ham.
They've gone past being bothered a bit like we are. But not bothered, but embarrassed by it.
But they're still turning up there every single week.
Oh, I know, yeah, they will do. They always will.
It's like, what, Mike?
Isn't there just like a joyless culture running right through the club, though? You know, this constant stuff that you hear every day. Like, I've been driving in and saying, if they win the Europa League, they'll have a barbecue. And, you know, like, you know what I mean? It's
one burger each, though. One burger.
Share it. Voucher for a burger.
To be fair, though, if we had a parade, it would be ridiculous. You can't be having a parade for being 17th in the league. We didn't have a parade when we won the European Cup, for Christ's sake. So
you can't win that battle.
No, because of the Rangers fans ruined that one. But I was refreshed with what Jim Ratcliffe said to you in his interview, though, about, and maybe that's where the calmness comes from with him, with the results in the league. Like the owner kind of came out and said, he's our guy, we're going to stick with him.
Oh, definitely stick.
And he was aware of, like, you know, the amount of players he actually has available in terms of the wage bill in comparison to who's on the pitch. It isn't much. So I was refreshed to hear the ownership come out and kind of back him. But
When obviously you think about Dan Ashworth leaving, which is still quite a sort of big moment, I think, in the season, that sort of it was treated as quite a big moment at the time. But knowing him as I do, and how sort of reliable Dan Ashworth is and trustworthy is, he went with a plan, I think, to them that would look pretty unspectacular at the time. He gave them 2 or 3 managers that basically didn't get the juices flowing and said, sort of, these are the people who I think need to be the first step on the rebuild of this football club.
Gareth Southgate and Eddie Howe.
Yeah, them type of people, Graham Potter maybe, say, look, these people will correct the culture within the club. They'll get the dressing room solid, you'll get good characters, you'll get a good work ethic. And it's the bridge that's needed to get to where we need to get to. You're not going to go from where we are to basically there. And looking back now, maybe he was right. The club just needed a period of sort of 2 or 3 years of what would be finishing 4th, finishing 5th, getting a really good culture, getting the staff happy. You mentioned about a joyless culture. You know, there's at this moment in time 200 people, 300 people at risk. They've not been told yet. They were told 2 weeks ago they were at risk. So there's 150 people in that club. You imagine that, you know, going into a place whereby you're wondering whether you're going to lose your job. And there's nothing they can do about that. They knew they were going to do that when they came in. But you imagine the feeling in that place around the players, around the club. So you think, at the moment, he was maybe right in how he looked at it, Dan, that there is maybe a stepping stone before we get back to...
Gareth Southgate weren't
No, I'm not saying... No, and I didn't support it at the
They needed
time.
the man before the man, didn't they?
But I didn't support it at the time, but and said I didn't think it would be the right mix. But when I look now and think what's going on, it's really worrying. And if they don't win the Europa League, that means they won't have the players that he wants next season, which means they might not get in the Champions League again, which means it could just literally kick it on for another 2 or 3 years. It really is a worry. It's a big... I'm genuinely, I said it last week, I've got a sickly feeling about this game next Wednesday. A sickly feeling. And the biggest reason I've got a sickly feeling is when I look at every single player in the Tottenham team and Maddison, I like Maddison, so I don't want him not to be available. But when you look at Kulusevski, Son, Brennan Johnson, Solanke, if Maddison was there, Basuma and Sarr, Romero and Van der Ven, Porro and Udogie.
He's just gone through the teams who were 16th and 17th in the league.
No.
And you think, honest to God, you think they're the 2 best teams in the country?
No, Carragher, when you look at those, when you look at those players, like for like with United's, only Bruno, in my opinion, would get into the first 11 of Spurs. I would select every single Tottenham player. I said this earlier in the season. The goalkeeper is a 50-50 split, 'cause I don't like Vicario, I'm not a fan of Onana. But honestly, Udogie, Porro, Van der Ven, Romero, Basuma, Sarr, Johnson, Maddison, Solanke, Kulusevski, Son, I would choose every single player of Tottenham's over Manchester United's next Wednesday night. That's my worry.
Casemiro's a man on a mission, though. He don't let us lose.
No, but just the United have got a couple of players.
He's on a mission for that 500 quid a week. That's what he's
no, Adam, do you know something? That's the one thing that keeps me alive. The likes of a Casemiro, a Bruno, they've got something in them that will step up for a one-off game that means that I think we will win. But if the players play like as they should do, pound for pound they play, Tottenham should win that game.
Flav?
Yeah, I think
you're in agreement with that?
Yeah, 100%. This is the most confident I've been going into a big game like this in a long while, and I think a lot of it's based on all that.
Music to my ears.
You got. I mean, what is it, man?
He was told the other week that Tottenham had no chance in hell of winning, weren't you? The other week on air,
Jamie did.
No, I don't see Tottenham. Exactly what Gary said. I do think Tottenham have got better players than Man United, but I remember when Liverpool played the Champions League final against Tottenham. And the teams at the time were probably not too far away from each other. Yeah. But just when I can imagine the Man United fans there on mass, similar to Liverpool, that mentality of we're supposed to be, the supporters think they're going to win, the players think they're going to win. It's
a mentality, isn't it?
It's a mentality thing. Okay, here's an example. I think if Man United went 1-0 in front, I don't see how you'd find anything to come back, whereas they could come back. I think even if they went 1-0 down, someone would do something would happen. When you're watching Man United play, that Lyon game, it was Lyon, wasn't it? You're not doing that.
Well, you have done that. We've done it on a bigger stage than that.
You're talking about the Ajax game?
Well, sorry.
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah, what did you think of it?
He got battered for 2 games and scored 2 flips.
Yeah, but you can't say we don't do it when we do that. We have done it. We have done it.
And you're the team that basically bottle every big game I've ever seen you play.
Well, this is where it changes.
I hope it does.
Jamie,
I hope it does.
It took Brentford 12 playoff attempts.
Just compared Spurs to Brentford.
To get qualified from the Championship. It took 12 times. Everyone thought they're perennial losers, they'll never do it. And then they did it, and look where they are now. So the reason why I'm confident going into this game, and I guess it's 90 minutes, anybody can win it, right? It's all of the conversation we've just had about Manchester United. Amorim's going into that dressing room going, boys, we need to win this game because I need to get rid of half of you. In our dressing room, they're going, we need to win this game because this is
to get rid of you.
The first major trophy. He knows he's out the door. The players...
Is he gone, even if they win?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't think there's a world where you can keep him. But we've been having this conversation since November. Yeah, I think he is. But interestingly, you talked about Romero and Van der Ven and in that side, and the fact that they get into the Man United side. When you've had them available to us, the average points per game is around, I think it's like 1.9, which would put us in 4th position when they've been available. When they're not available is a completely different side. The fact that they've kind of engineered it, Postecoglou has engineered it so that we have really 2 amazing centre-backs available for this game, well up for it. I think we're going to surprise a few people. I think it's going to be quite comfortable.
Van der Ven's hamstring goals first half.
I have no logical reason why United should win it other than recent experience and history.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but can I ask a question? That's like history. It's bullshit, right?
No, it's not bullshit.
Games,
but why?
Look at Real Madrid.
You never win anything.
We beat Bilbao.
Look at Real Madrid in the last 5 years.
It's only the last...
They've not been a great team at times, have they? But that history just takes them to it. Now, realistically, they should win the game. They beat us the last 3 games.
Should win.
A lot better.
We haven't lost since 2022, so none of that counts.
And do you know what? I think you'll be the best team on the night, and I think you'll probably play really well, but we'll win. We seem to find 10 or 15-minute spells where we win games.
That's my
And I think that's what'll happen.
And it's not a history, by the way. It's about a club mentality, really. Because history sounds like it's sort of nostalgic. It's not. It's a mentality of a club and a fan base that think they are going there, and we're not coming out of this city until we've won. Now, that can change. We know that could look stupid next Wednesday because you should, I think, on talent on the pitch, you've got better forwards, you've got better centre halves, you've got better midfield players, other than Bruno. And you should win that game. You've beat us the last 3 times. You've got a great record against us because you're a better team than us. And I unfortunately have to say that.
He's getting into your head, isn't he?
However, no, I'm not.
No,
I can feel a mind game starting.
I'm sitting there thinking,
It is a mental. But Newcastle the big surprise this season you should look at most was what Newcastle did against Liverpool in the Carabao Cup, because that was a big shock to me. I thought that morning, I am not seeing. I said to you before the game, Virgil van Dijk will lift this trophy. He 100% will lift his trophy. I was amazed at how Newcastle did. So what you're saying about, and actually they actually beat Liverpool really well on the day.
Yeah.
Played really well. Yeah. What you're saying is that Tottenham are just going to go and win so easily.
No.
If it's a football match without any of the other sort of things, you probably would.
I don't think we're going to win easily. That was a bit tongue-in-cheek. But I just think if it's about energy and motivation. And it just, Man United, based on what Amorim has been saying, doesn't define us. We still had an awful season. It's almost like they're not bothered whether they even win it, where we're going to be obsessed.
No, they're bothered.
Are they? Because it doesn't feel like it.
Oh, it's massive.
It feels like to me that Tottenham are obsessed with winning.
I feel a bit sick about it, honestly, that it's that important to United. I don't feel comfortable with it.
But it's important because of it's the Champions League football. For us, it's important because we're going to win a European trophy.
You're right. There's a different element to it, maybe, because of the fact of the consequence of not winning it with United and what that would do to the manager at the start of next season in the recruitment. But that adds to the fact that you do also... The fans want to go to win a trophy. The fans want to win a trophy. I mean,
no one's talking like that.
No, I know, but they understand also the consequence of not winning it is important.
Yeah, I think our drive to win it for the sake of doing it, not because there's Champions League football, will get us over the line.
I hope so, Flav. I'm with you. As most people, put your hands up who you want to win the Europa League final. Who wants Tottenham to win the Europa League final?
Oh, brilliant.
Why does anyone fan up there want Tottenham to win the Europa League final?
It'd make him happy, wouldn't it?
Another London club to win, honestly. Listen, that's it for another episode of The Fan Debate, brought to you by Sky Bet.